Hi everybody, welcome to The Limit Breakdown. We review everything in TV shows, movies, and everything going on in entertainment. I'm your host, Sid.
I'm Migs.
And today we're going to be reviewing episode 1 of season 2 of Hot D, House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
So if you have not seen Hot D, don't watch this video because we're going to do spoiler-filled, straight review. Alright, it has been 2 years since the last episode of House of the Dragon aired, and Migs being the nerd that he is, what do you think?
So,
Get your podium.
welcome to my the first episode got us off to a good start.
I think so.
I thought it was a little bit of a slow burn from the early part. Obviously, you know,
It felt a lot of build-up.
Yeah.
Right? It felt like it was a lot of build-up, nothing...
Well, no, I don't think that it was build-up. To me, it kind of felt like... I guess I expected more of more of an immediate aftermath after the death of Lucerys.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, Alicent and Otto, basically, they had, like, almost no reaction. They were just kind of like, oh, yeah, so he's dead. Well, sucks. Makes things harder.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and obviously, you know, you had Daemon and Rhaenyra having massive reactions. You know, Rhaenyra being in complete and utter shock to the point that, you know, she had to go and verify. Yeah, of course. And I mean, you know, Rhaenys brought up a solid point. Like, you know, she's been told by a raven that her son is dead. She can't just take the word of a raven. Yeah. So I just want to say shout out to Emma Darcy, who plays Rhaenyra Targaryen, because like she might be prepping herself later on this year for an Emmy. Dude, she had I think three lines in the entire first episode, and just the emotion that she was able to convey in the two scenes that she had. The one where she comes up to on the beach, and she comes up on the piece of wing,
dead dragon,
and sees Luke's cloak. And I like the parallel shot where they showed Rhaenyra grieving, and then you see her dragon, because also that's Lucerys' dragon was also Rhaenyra's dragon's offspring as well. So you see, so you saw
I did not know that.
both mothers grieving at that point.
I didn't. Oh my god, that makes it.
Yeah, right. And then of course,
when she storms back in.
Into the war room, and you see, man, like, okay, so the running joke with this show is don't cuddle up to any side, because both of them are going to do terrible things. And I feel like, yes, this is absolutely true. Both of them are doing terrible things. But I feel like the direction that we've been shown tends to be more sympathetic towards the sides of the blacks than it is to the greens.
Yes.
To those of you that don't know, and obviously if you haven't been aware, the sides in House of the Dragon is basically the blacks and the greens, and they've been determined by the choice of what people wore at a particular dinner a long time ago, where Rhaenyra, who was the presumed heir, wore a black dress, and her stepmother Alicent wore a green dress.
Her friend / stepmother.
And you know, green is a color that's very significant with her family name, which is the Hightowers. So that's kind of where the factions, the name of the factions, come from. But yeah, so just diving full right in. And again, if you haven't seen the episode, we are gonna go full spoilers over here, so just be aware. But she's gonna be pissed when she finds out about Jaehaerys getting killed. And although it is, you know, the sentiment, a son for a son, it's not like this. Like, not how she wanted.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the book in the narrative, the way that the book is written, right? The series House of the Dragon is based on a book called House of the Dragon that's written in the form of a textbook. So it's supposed to be a historical recounting of events, right? So in the book, things are told from like a third person perspective, where it basically kind of shows what people thought and what the general consensus was of how things were interpreted from a historical perspective.
Gotcha.
So for instance, the death of Lucerys was seen and noted by the historians as Aemon cold-bloodedly murdering his cousin and almost kind of doing it out of spite, when one of the key things that I saw when they showed it was Aemon losing control of Vhagar and Vhagar killing Lucerys, but it wasn't what he actually intended.
Yeah, he's wanted to scare him.
But of course, as it comes forward, he would never admit that he lost control of Vhagar because it would make him look weak. Yeah. So for the context of the way it was written as a retelling, it would be retold, yes, Aemon killed, Lucerys in cold blood. And I'm wondering if the events moving forward are kind of a similar situation. An interesting thing that was put forth. So Daemon, of course, now being the hothead that he is, puts on his murder hoodie and makes his way down to King's Landing, hires the rat catcher and one of the
I'm scared of the rats.
One of the City Watch members, infamously known as Blood and Cheese. And they go in there and they're supposed to be looking for Aemon. And
a boy with white hair and one eye.
Yeah.
As specified by the instructions given to him.
But I thought it was curious that they specifically went out of their way to go, well, what do we do if we can't find him? And then the scene cuts off, right? Again, this is gonna, people are gonna paint me as saying I'm trying to defend Daemon. I'm not. He's responsible. He shouldn't have done this. But I don't actually think that he would have been like, oh, if you can't find Aemon, just kill the baby.
Well, so they did cut off, but then he said he did, like I said, he specifically did say
a son for a son.
Well, yes, a son for a son. He did say white hair, one eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
a male, white hair, one eye.
Good in a fight.
Good. So you're like, all right, we know who we're looking for.
Yeah.
So that's.
Again, it's one of those things where, like I said, I'm not trying to defend Daemon at all whatsoever, but I don't think that Jaehaerys getting killed was what he intended.
Yeah. And
I think he's going to be just as pissed, but of course Rhaenyra's not going to see it that way, and Alicent and Otto are definitely not going to see it that way.
Speaking of Alicent, so from the start of the episode, she is... I don't like her. Let's just start off with that. I think, but at the same time, you can tell the whole episode she feels for her friend, and she's like, but it's in a way of, I feel for my friend's emotions, but it's, you're wrong, I'm right. Just do it my way. Or, this is happening to you because you're not listening to me type situations. And she's like, I still care for you, but you have to do shit my way.
I feel like Alicent is Regina George.
No, not entirely. I see it, but not only because there was a one scene where she's putting the candles down, and then she's like, Lucerys.
Yeah,
his name is Lucy. So she feels for them, and she's like, yeah, but you're not with me, so you're against me type situations.
Well, I mean, it's also, and I thought this was an interesting juxtaposition between the male and the female characters, where the female characters, Alicent and Rhaenyra, are kind of both exercising restraint, whereas like Rhaenyra has to go and confirm the information that she gets before she decides to take any action. The same thing with Alicent, where they're like, hey, have we reached out to our allies? Have we tried to, reach out to them, try to find out what's going on? Whereas both Aemon and Aegon, and then Daemon on the other side, are like, nah, let's ride. We're going to war. Like, there's no way to avoid this. Like, we burning down.
Yep.
And it's interesting that the women are trying to be more diplomatic, and the men are just ready to hop on their dragons and light fire to some cities.
Yeah. Also, what's Otto?
Mhm.
Otto seems, I don't know. I also don't like him. He seems very. He's like a snake.
Yeah.
He's doing what is in best of his favor, and I don't want to.
He feels like the little finger of this series.
Yeah, I don't like him. What is the king's name?
Aegon.
Aegon. I was a little confused. Not confused, but I'm torn to see which way they go, and maybe have a better opinion. So the beginning of the episode, you can see he's like, "No, I'm gonna do what I want. I'm king."
Yeah.
For example, when he goes, "Oh, my son is going to be king one day. He needs to be in the council room." And a little child is playing with the balls, and then he told the little ball, and he tells what's his face to be like, the master of coin or whatever. He's like, "Why are you interrupting my thing?" Just
Oh, it's like it's the future heir interrupting you.
Yeah,
or annoying you.
And he's
or
like, he
something?
was like a pony ride, right? Basically pushing his power.
Yeah.
Like, he's basically the Joffrey.
Yeah.
Right. And then he flips the script, which I was not expecting when they were doing the petitions with the common folk or the regular folk. And then he's like, "Oh, you want your sheep back? Oh, yeah, sure. Like, I'll give you your sheep back. I don't mind." And then Otto being like, "Yeah, that's not possible." And then the next guy was just like, "I want this." And then finally, when the one dude was like, "I can't build weapons because we don't have the money," and he's like, "No, you're gonna get your weapon." He's like,
"You're gonna get your money." Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, "The kingdom is built on the small folk."
Yeah.
And then it blew my mind because I'm like, where did that come from? So on one hand, he's abusing his power, doing things like, give my son a pony ride in the middle of a war council. But on the other side, he's listening to his people and trying to give them what he wants, while Otto is manipulating him. It's weird.
So I think it's interesting because one thing that this series is doing that I think was lacking in the original Game of Thrones series is that these are much more nuanced characters when it comes to the villains. Not to say that the villains in the original Game of Thrones weren't nuanced. You had characters like Littlefinger and Joffrey and stuff, but like for instance Joffrey, like he had no redeeming quality. There was nothing. You kind of understood a little bit based on his backstory why he was the way that he was, but it was a criticism of House of the Dragon that everything was sped up and shown, but we have literally seen these characters from beginning to where they are now. Like we saw Aegon as a child. We saw how he was neglected and passed over and over for his sister Rhaenyra, right? He brought his son into the small council chambers because that's what he wanted from his father, right? And that's what he never got. He was trying to do better than what he got. And yeah, he didn't take it seriously because he never thought he would actually end up being king. So he has no actual concept of what it is to be king. But then at the same time, he would also see his dad on the Iron Throne listening to the small folk. And he does ultimately want to be a good king. He's a petulant child when it comes to, this is my throne, this is my birthright, whatever, my sister can't have it. But at the same time, if it wasn't for that core conflict, he would try, at the very least, make the effort to try to be a good king. And you see glimpses of that with his dealings with the small folk.
Yeah, which I found, I'm glad, but it threw me off because I was like, I want to hate this character. I want to like this character.
I'm glad that they did that, because had they turned him into another Joffrey, then there would be no conflict moving forward, because then you're just rooting for Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
And so at least with this, it's showing you a different side to Aegon, and it's giving it a little bit more dimension to the character, and seeing that there are some redeeming qualities. And like I said, the core of the Dance of the Dragons for me is that it's a series of unfortunate events. It's a series of misunderstandings stemming from the original misunderstanding of Alicent being jealous of Rhaenyra for Rhaenyra hooking up with Kristen Cole, which is the boy that she liked when she was younger. and the jealousy that stemmed from that,
Yeah.
all the way to Eamon still being mad at his cousins for giving him a pig with wings.
Yeah.
I mean, that's serious. Had that never happened, Lucerys would still be alive.
Yeah. True. And then what's funny is now,
Kristen Cole?
Crispy Cole. Sir Crispy Cole here. Originally, you know, when he was with Rhaenyra, and he's like, oh, well, I don't, you know, I want to be with you and be with you. I don't want to do this side stuff. Now he's doing the exact same thing with Alicent.
Yeah.
He is her side piece.
Yeah.
Without anybody supposedly knowing. I mean, they know, but so did they. So did them back then.
Yeah, I mean,
English words. But,
I mean,
you know.
it's been a couple of decades. A man will lower his standards after a couple of decades, I guess.
Sir
I mean,
Crispy Cole.
look, I say lower his standards, not that, you know, Alice. But anyway, look, Kristen is, and the thing is, he's still holding on to that grudge against Rhaenyra.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the other.
He left her.
I mean, that's the other thing too. That's the other thing too. It's like, and that's what makes Alicent for me such not irredeemable, but I mean, again, she's too much of a goody two shoes. Well, not even goody. She's too much of a too righteous in her own way. Yes. She reminds me of those women that would go to church on Sunday. That would go to church on Sunday and judge everyone for what they did.
Going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a song in Spanish by an artist named Ricardo Arjona, and he had this very famous song, but there was a line in the song where it says that my next door neighbor was very religious and would go to church every Sunday. She would talk about loving that neighbor, but every time my ball went into her yard, she'd pop it.
That's Alicent for you.
Yeah, so it's like, you know.
Yeah. I will say one negative thing about the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what the type of show that it is. I know there's a lot of R-rated stuff that happens. There's no need to kick a dog.
So you were fine with the child murder, is what you're saying?
I was fine with the child murder. I do not kick the dog. All right.
You know what the funny thing is?
My dog.
I've seen that reaction online is like more people were upset about the dog getting kicked than the child getting murdered.
That dog did nothing to you.
Speaking of the child getting murdered, look, people that hadn't read the books,
I have not read the books.
Didn't see it coming.
I didn't see it.
Like, what was your reaction?
I did not know they're actually gonna do it.
Yeah.
I thought they're gonna be like, all right, and then I was like, all right, someone's gonna come and swoop the day.
Dude, that sound effect.
I thought, what's Patch McAdams' name?
Oh, Eamon.
Eamon. I thought Eamon's gonna come in there and like swoop the day, and something's gonna happen, or something. I was not expecting the baby to die. I'm not gonna lie, it
was so much worse in the books. Look, they toned it down, and I kind of understand. There are actually people online that are upset at the fact that they didn't do it exactly the way that it was in the books, and I'm kind of glad that they. I'm kind of glad that they didn't. Well, no, and you'll understand why I say it was so much worse. So in the books,
this part is extremely R-rated. So if you're under the age of R.
So in the books, Alicent has 3 children. She has another boy named Maelor. Right? Maelor.
Or Maelor.
Yeah. And I think they briefly mentioned him and said that he was down with her relatives in Hightower land or whatever, but I'm not sure if he's actually a part of the show or not. But anyway, in the book she has 3 kids, right? The scene plays out very similarly, but the difference being when they're asking her which one's the boy, right? In the books, the 2 boys are obvious, and she said, which one is Jaehaerys? Or no, they ask her, which one of your sons do you want to die? So I guess she in her mind was rationalizing, Maelor is 2 years old, he's going to be too young to really understand what's going on. So she points to Maelor, right? So then Blood and Cheese turn around and go, okay, they kill Jaharis, which was the one that she didn't point to, and then they tell Maelor, you now have to live with the fact that knowing that your mother wanted you to die. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. No, it was terrible. So like I said, I completely understand why they toned that down.
Ooh.
And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, wow. No, I was expecting that.
Yeah, no. Like that's one of those, like, it was bad, and as bad as it was, could have been worse. It could have been way worse.
Fair. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. It picked back up right as I expected it would. It got us right back into the swing of Westerosi politics. Yeah, no, I mean, there were so many other side stories with the Valerians kind of had a little brief thing. There's a character that got shown talking to Corlys that
Saved his life. Yeah.
He might play an interesting role going forward if they play it out the way they did in the books. So that's interesting. You see some of the during the funeral for Lucerys, you see everybody kind of putting down like their tokens and mementos, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm interested to see just how they change things going forward. And like I said, it's interesting from the source material, with it being the source material being written as a textbook, and then basically us now kind of getting the different version. Yeah. And seeing and them being able to give us the changes like that. You know, I go back to that Aemon and Vhagar thing, where in the book it was told that Aemon killed Lucerys in cold blood, but as they showed in the show, that wasn't the case. And yeah. And the last thing I have to say is just fuck Christian Cole.
Sir Crispy Cole.
Sir Christian Cole, yes.
I'm right there with you. Episode 1 pulled me back in as it did 2 years ago. It's definitely a lot of drama going on. Was not expecting the Bebe to die. I was also kind of disappointed that the dog got kicked. And as you mentioned, it's a whole lot of misunderstanding, and just talk it out, guys. Just hug it out.
Therapy. Westerosi therapy. That's all that was.
Can you imagine how much a therapist would make? But I'm very excited for the rest of
Put the whores out of business.
Oh god. Oh my god. Anyways, kids. So overall, I'm definitely hooked. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season goes out. It's going to be great in my opinion. So far, so good. I'm loving it. Already addicted. Already hooked. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, whether you liked it, didn't like it, or any other thing of your thoughts and opinions.
And as always, don't forget to hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Helps us out in the algorithm. Tell us anything that you wanted to tell us, whether you agreed or not, and keep on coming back. We'll catch you next time with some more content.